The GOTWAY EX.N was an electric unicycle that was never meant to exist in the first place. It was never formally announced and was made as a panic response to the lukewarm reception the GOTWAY EX, their supposedly high-speed suspension wheel, received late last year. I mean, a 35 miles per hour GOTWAY wheels. What were they thinking? It had also inherited many of that wheel's problems, like the fragile shell, the poor waterproofing, as well as the massive weight. But despite all of that, I'm also going to tell you why I think that the GOTWAY EX.N may be one of the best electric unicycles you can buy on the market right now. That's right, I actually had something positive to say about a GOTWAY wheel for a change. This week, my review of the GOTWAY EX.N and my attempt to hit 50 miles per hour on this wheel. Will I make it? Roll the intro. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and we will be BFF forever. GOTWAY is no longer the special flower it once were. Gone were the day when it dominated the electric unicycle performance chart with a monopoly on 100-volt speed and power. Even the previously conservative Emotion had released a 100-volt 40 miles per hour capable V12, and we hear whispering of a 126-volt Hsiang in the works. Even their title as the manufacturer of the fastest electric unicycle rely on the thinnest of speed margin the Monster Pro had over its arch nemesis, the Veteran Sherman. And that came at the cost of reduced range and torque, as well as significantly larger size and greater weight. Not to mention what have unfortunately become synonymous with GOTWAY, and that is of course poor build qualities and a slew of engineering issues like waterproofing, overheating, and fire. Yet none of these issues are new, and if you hang out with any hardcore EUC riders, you're still going to see mostly GOTWAY wheels, many of whom still preferred it over even the mighty Veteran Sherman. The reason why that is also the one quality which I find the EX.N to have an abundance of, even more than any other wheel on the market currently right now. And I'll get to that, but first, shout out to Jason at eWheel for letting me borrow this demo EX.N to test and review. They're actually currently in the process of developing their own battery pack with an upgraded BMS that's much better than the stock one you would get from GOTWAY. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to tell you more about it in the near future. On to the EX.N review, and as usual, for a bit more structure, I'm going to review this wheel based on 5 criteria, and they are convenience, design, performance, ride quality, and finally value, and all on a score of 1 to 5. And when it comes to convenience, I suspect you already know what it is I'm going to say. The trolley handle is just as terrible as the very same one we got from the EX. Despite all of our complaint, we were promptly ignored by GOTWAY. After a day of use, it stopped fully extending, and so I'm stuck with having to hunch over, which do get tiring quite quickly. And there's no getting around the weight of this wheel. Despite losing the suspension, it remains a hefty 70 pounds and still a pain to drag up a flight of stairs. The headlight is decently bright, but not properly aimed nor shaped for functional use at night, and the pathetic mudlap in the back is way too narrow and fit poorly. The fan runs constantly and is incredibly loud, enough so that it is audible even outdoor or in a loud restaurant. These are the very same problems that GOTWAY wheels always had, except now that we have much better option without sacrificing much performances. So for complete lack of effort, the EX.N gets a 1 out of 5 for convenience. As to design, as I mentioned, I actually think the updated EX shell is the nicest looking one out of all of GOTWAY's prior effort, or the lack thereof. You do get a little bit more used to the weird blobby design from wheels like the Monster Pro, and by comparison, the simple and straightforward profile of the EX.N feel like a nice refresh from the M Super line of shells. However, aside from looks, there should also be a practical side to the design of an electric unicycle shell. Ideally, it should be durable, easy to access, provide protection as well as waterproofing from elements while still facilitate airflow and help with cooling. And the EX.N unfortunately has one of the probably worst design shell of any GOTWAY wheels. And it is none of those things that I said as essential to the design of an EUC shell. The controller and the battery pack remain in the thin sealed compartment with little ways for air or heat to escape, while the whole thing remains so poorly sealed that dust, dirt, and water could easily get in so as to ruin your day. And for all of those reasons, the EX.N gets a 1.5 out of 5 for design. Now for some of the hardcore riding enthusiasts, the last two categories may not matter at all. And in some ways, it makes certain sense because through aftermarket mods, you can improve the convenience as well as durability of a wheel. But on the other hand, if you start out with a slow wheels, there's nothing you can do to make it faster. Which brings us to criteria 3, performance. And I'm going to break it down by taking you on a ride up First Avenue where I push the EX.N to the edge of its performance envelope to illustrate both its strength and weaknesses. First of all, I am starting the ride with 90% battery, and right away the greater torque the larger motor generate impresses. One of the weaknesses of the Veteran Sherman is acceleration and power at the lower speed, and the EX.N wins here. Sherman do carry its weight lower and it's better balanced when shaken, but the latest production run of the EX.N with a knobby tire closes that gap a bit. And it easily cruises at 35 miles an hour and push for 40 with zero drama, and has one of the most aggressive acceleration curve of any wheel I have ever ridden. In the cutout tunnel and under ideal condition, it'll take you right up to the edge of 50 miles per hour, but past 48 the motor starts to feel soft and you're right on the edge of cutout territories. One bump and you're done basically at this point. And it is here where both the Monster Pro and the Sherman has a bit of an advantage over the EX.N. It is also where the smaller battery and larger motor combo show its weaknesses. I'm only 1.5 miles into the ride and the battery has sagged down to 50% from 90 under load, and if you start the ride with let's say 70%, then that sag could very possibly faceplant you if you try to push the wheel the same way here. The other issue is range. The higher wattage motor on the EX.N will suck out a lot more juice, especially if you ride this wheel the way you're supposed to, which is like a 15-year-old with unchecked hormone. Then you'll be going through those electrons like there's no tomorrow. And at the end of my 9 miles ride, I went from 90% battery to 45%. So you're probably looking at a 25 to 35 miles range despite its larger battery pack. But it is hard to argue against the raw excitement of riding this wheel. In a dense urban setting like this, for the most part, you're just about the fastest and most agile thing on the road. Just about every other electric unicycle on the market right now feels slow and anemic by comparison. So I had to give it a 4.5 out of 5. It's only docked at half point because it is not the fastest electric unicycle on the market right now. Ride quality, on the other hand, does not solely depend on speed and aggression alone. And here lies GOTWAY's secret success. There is this subtle but unmistakably distinct motor feel to all GOTWAY wheels. It is a signature that a loyal GOTWAY rider had come to appreciate over the years. Now the Veteran Sherman has been described as riding GOTWAY-like. However, there is still enough of a difference that any hardcore GOTWAY rider could tell the difference, and that is the reason that many still choose to remain loyal to the brand despite its many issues. It is a sense of strength and solidity to the way the motor output is tuned, and a consistency in the delivery of power and resistance in the now well-known hard, medium, and soft modes. The weight that makes this wheel a pain to lug upstairs become an asset at speed and help add stability to the wheels when you're doing something absolutely irresponsible for someone your age. For shame! At the same time, because of tire size and pedal height, it's able to retain much of its agility despite its significant weight. And what you end up with is a wheel that feels like a cross between the Veteran Sherman and the GOTWAY M Super, and as close to a rocket as I can imagine. First time I rode this wheel, I got on 1st Avenue and didn't stop till 125th Street, more than 100 blocks later. And the only other wheel that pulled me in like the EX.N was the Veteran Sherman. For that, it gets 4 out of 5 for its raw balls to the wall aggressive quality, with a point taken because of the jarring non-suspension ride on rough roads. And finally, value. Now, this probably would have been a very different conversation a year ago when the Veteran Sherman was just introduced at $2,800. However, this past year had been absolutely insane, with the supply chain essentially doing a backflip due to all the shortages associated with the pandemic. As a result, what we found ourselves in is a Sherman that is now north of $3,500, with all the new wheel being introduced this year, like the S20, and of course the sequel to the Veteran Sherman, the Abram, somewhere in the $3,700 neighborhood. All of a sudden, the EX.N at its current listed price of $2,800 seems like a bit of a bargain. Mind you, I'm mostly speaking to riders who are looking for speed and excitement, so if you want a refined and convenient commuter, this isn't for you. But on the other hand, if you want to know what it feels like to be Superman and care less about a hit to your range, then the EX.N is a 5 out of 5 for value, since it's the cheapest electrified superpower I have ever ridden. So what do you think? Are the hit to the range not worth a trade-off for power and acceleration? Or are you ready to burn it all down just to be the first man crossing the line? Well, that's what the comment section below is for.
I know you feel me now. I know you hear me loud. I scream it loud and proud. Missy gon' blow it down. People won't play me now. In and out of town, cause I'm the best around. With the crazy style.
You know what? Aha! I somehow managed to trick you into wasting another 15 minutes of your life, but I hope you enjoyed it. Shout out to my supporter on Patreon. Please check out the link in the video description below if you enjoy and like to support my work. And as always, as much as we all love electric unicycle, the only way for us to get better wheel is to grow as a community. So tell your friend and teach him how to ride and get that hook. Until the next video, thank you.
That's what you're back, baby.